What is up, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of Touchdown and Ties, the father-daughter sports podcast discussing football and everything else in between. I'm your co-host, Brianna, the daughter of this duo.
What up, everybody? And I'm Keith, her dad, the other co-host.
In today's episode, we're going to be wrapping up Week 7 in college football. But before we do, please go ahead and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. That way you can get updated whenever we upload an episode, and it also helps us out as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's jump into the biggest disappointment for us today. Kind of expected for me. I'd love to hear your opinions, but Michigan just lost to SC. How do we feel about that one?
Well, like you, I kind of expected it. I mean, we've been talking about all season just how Michigan's offense is really not that dynamic to keep up with these other teams who do have really good offenses. I mean, and it's asking a lot for the defense to, try to shut teams down week in and week out. Once Justice Hayes went out the game, the score 21-7, you kind of figured that the game was over. I mean, me personally, I never got the feeling that Michigan was going to win the game. I mean, USC scored on that first possession of the game, and pretty much Michigan was fighting uphill for the rest of the night. So it didn't really surprise me that they lost the game.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good point that you made. Like you said, with USC's first possession, they scored. Michigan punted the ball away. Michigan only scored in the second quarter, so they didn't do much, and USC scored again. The defense kind of slowed it down a little bit when they recovered that forced fumble, but then they didn't capitalize off of it. The next thing they did was punt the ball away once again. And I know people in the comments have been kind of fussing at me about what I've been saying about Michigan's defense and their offense and whoop, and they're going to do all these things and change it when they get to teams that are more dynamic. This is the point that I was trying to make this whole time. Michigan does the same thing every time. They have to be the most predictable offense in all of college football because you get an offensive pass interference, you lose 15 yards, it's now second down, and you pass the ball off. And then the next play after that on third down, then the quarterback just runs the ball as 3rd and 17. Why are y'all doing that?
It's just always been Michigan's way. I mean, they're very predictable offense. I mean, some might even say that their offense is boring to watch. I mean, I know I do.
I agree.
If all of Michigan's big plays seem to come out of the run game.
Right.
In today's football, just not college football, but professional football as well, you have to be able to throw the ball. And Michigan, I don't care if they're up 14 or they're down 14, they're going to run the ball. I mean, they're wide receivers, and I think they have pretty good wide receivers. I think Donovan McCauley is a good receiver. I think Andrew Marsh is a good receiver. But for whatever reason, they don't feed these guys the ball. When Bryce Underwood does throw the ball, he doesn't challenge the ball down the field. He doesn't throw the ball down the field. A lot of his passes are like underneath, maybe the receiver break a tackle and not make a big play on it or not, but one way or the other, but he doesn't throw the ball down the field. And it gets very predictable for the defense to sit and say, okay, they're not threatening us down the field, so we can just load the box and try to stop them on the run. And that's what they end up doing. I mean, it's 21-7, and you still just running the ball up the middle with Haynes was out. So you have Marshall in the game. Right. And it's like, what are we doing? Yeah. They did get that one big play when, Marsh had the 60 some odd yard touchdown pass, whatever. But by that time, the game is over.
That's the point I made last week. Their offense shows up too late. Who cares at this point? Like USC has been rolling on you all night.
Right. Yeah, the game is over at that point. And then you go for 2, you down.
And then you overthrow it. He's wide open.
But then you have no reason for going for 2 in that situation. I mean, ultimately it didn't matter. But, the score is 24-7. You scored a touchdown there. You kicked the extra point. Now you're only down 10 points. So you need a touchdown and a field goal as opposed to, still needing 2 touchdowns, to which obviously you knew they wasn't going to score 2 more touchdowns in the game anyway. But, it's I'm not even really disappointed because I kind of expected this to happen. Exactly. I mean, I knew Michigan was not a very good football team. They were winning games, against some teams that they were obviously better than. But, this is just how it's going to be. I mean, next week they go to Washington. I think, maybe Washington comes to Ann Arbor. And it's probably going to be the same thing. Washington has a pretty good offense. Michigan's offense struggles. So it's probably going to be the same thing. Michigan, you probably, we'll be looking at a similar result next week, that they're going to struggle against the Huskies.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, you can't expect the defense to show up every single week. Like, they're allowed to have an off week, but like you make the points about other teams is that when one side of the ball is just so bad, it puts way too much pressure on the other side to perform all the time, because how you talk about like complimentary football we've seen before with the Lions, it's like maybe the defense is giving up a lot of points, but the offense is still scoring too. So like they kind of balance each other out. But it's like the offense and defense can't suck on the same night. And
No.
I mean, and to give credit to the defense, they got a couple of turnovers in the game as well. And again, the defense helped them out by getting those turnovers so the game wouldn't get that far away from Michigan. Because ideally, the score should have been way higher for SC if he hadn't thrown those interceptions. But then Michigan didn't capitalize off of any of them.
Yeah, Bryce Underwood only had one interception, and then his backup came in at the end of the game, Davis, and he
Oh, that
threw
was the
another
backup.
pick.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
That
he
was
threw
my
another
fault.
pick.
Okay.
But, Michigan got the score could have been worse,
Way
because they
worse.
did force USC into some turnovers. But again, I think they only capitalized on one of them. So it's just how it's going to be, man. I mean, I'm not that disappointed because I don't have high expectations for this
Right.
Michigan team.
I'm just annoyed.
I thought I'm not even really annoyed. I mean, because it seemed like Bryce Underwood played better under the interim coach when Sharon Moore was out for those couple games than he has under Sharon Moore.
Sharon Moore.
It's like the other guy, Poggi, I think is his name, opened up the game plan a little bit more for Bryce, whereas when Moore's in there, the game plan is a little bit more conservative. So again, I mean, they expect big plays out of their run game. Justice went out today with I don't know what kind of injury he had, but he did maybe a rib injury or something like that. But he didn't play at all in the second half, and that's pretty much their offense. When he's not in there, that's pretty much it. They don't have any other. I mean, they have some guys, but like I said, they
But
don't
not on his
really.
level.
They don't feature them enough. I mean, you wait until the game is over to start throwing the ball to McCauley and throwing the ball to Marsh and to Klein and those guys like that. And, it's 24-7 by the time you want to start really getting these guys involved in the game. And it's too late at that point.
Yep.
So
Same thing I said last week.
I'm annoyed by that, but that's just, even when they had Jim Harbaugh, they had Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards and those guys. To me, it was the same thing. Michigan is a run-first team, and they're not really built to come from behind. So, when the score is 21-7, you're looking at it going like, man, it's probably game.
And it's like the second quarter. That's pathetic. That's so bad to say.
Unless the other team helps them out in some way by turning over the ball
shoots
and
themselves
that
in the
sort
foot.
of thing. It's pretty much game over because Michigan does not have that type of offense to where they're going to come back from being down 2 or 3 scores. So it is what it is.
Well, we'll see how the rest of the season goes, but I think we can predict how that's going to go for them.
Yeah, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good.
Well, moving on to the Big Ten, there was another game where a quarterback threw some interceptions and probably some of the worst time in the games that he could have thrown it. Indiana and Oregon. That was actually a pretty good game today. I knew going into this week that was going to be a really good game. So both teams came in undefeated and Indiana came on top. It was a back and forth game the whole entire time.
It was. Big ups to Indiana, man. Kurt Ciganetti, I think is the coach's name. He's really turned that program around. I mean, Indiana used to be the laughingstock of the Big Ten, but now over the last year and a half, I think they're like 17-2 or something like that. I mean, they have a very good record. I mean, they held Oregon to under 300 yards of total offense today.
Yep.
I think that's the first time that's happened since Ohio State did it to Oregon a few years ago. I also saw a stat saying that this was their first road win against a top 5 team in their school's history.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I saw that it was their second ever win over a top 5 opponent, period. The last time that happened was in 1967.
Wow.
Against Purdue.
Wow.
I don't want to age you, but think about that.
I know. Yeah, I never remember Indiana being good at football. Indiana's a basketball school. Never. They've never been good in my lifetime, honestly. I mean, they have always been one of the bottom feeders, if you will, of the Big 18 now. But the last 2 years, I mean, the coach was good in his previous stop. I think it was at James Madison, maybe. He had a really good record there. Then he did. He come to Indiana, and he's turned that program around. And I mean, it's really good to see that a team that was a dormant for so long, all of a sudden now they're one of the top teams, not just in the Big Ten, but one of the top teams in the country right now.
Yeah, the number 7.
That was a big win.
Then I think they were talking about they had like not one of them, or they are like the top 10 defense in the country. Yeah. I mean, they held Oregon to 64 yards in the second half.
Yeah.
That was it.
I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Oregon. And then on Oregon side of it, Oregon only had 1 sack entering this game, and IU got to Dante Moore 6 times.
Wow.
during this
Yeah,
game.
that's
6.
impressive, man. That
That's
defense was
impressive
all
on
over the
them.
field. It was
Yeah.
a big win. I mean, Oregon had won something like 22, 23 games in a row overall. I think they had
Yeah.
won like 17, 18 straight games at home
18 at home.
overall. I mean, and for them
Mhm.
to go in there and win that game,
Yeah,
I mean, Indiana, it was a statement win, not just
for sure.
for the, for this season, but just for their program going forward. Then
Yeah.
now they can compete with the big boys in college football. So good for them. Now the
Yeah.
challenge is going to be is the coach going to be satisfied
Mhm.
being in Indiana, because you have to figure some of these bigger programs are
Yeah.
going to take note of what he's doing and say, hey man, if you're doing that in Indiana, imagine what you can do,
Yeah.
at Florida State. Imagine what you can do at Penn State. I mean, I'm not saying these coaches are in trouble, but I'm just saying,
No, yeah, I get what you're saying,
at
though.
programs like that, and that's always the challenge, is
Yeah.
keeping those guys there and
Right.
not losing them to the more marquee programs. But,
Yeah.
you know, good for them.
Yeah, for sure. But also in the day of NIL, anybody can have a quote unquote big program, can switch things non-traditionally and
Yeah.
have a good teams. It's not just, I know it's like a joke going around because, SEC was doing things under the table before NIL. Now everybody can do it publicly. That's why the SEC was so good in football. But
Right.
I do see what you're saying, like going to these traditional big dog football schools. Like I say, he came from James Madison. Now he's at Indiana. Who knows what other
Right.
school might be appealing to him if he decides that he doesn't want to stay.
Yeah. Because make no mistake about it, Indiana will always be a basketball school.
For sure.
I don't
Yeah.
care how good the
Yeah.
football team is. It'll
Yeah.
always be a basketball
Yeah.
school.
But also to the coach's credit, I think they said Ohio State was talking to him before he went to Indiana, and then some other big football school was talking to him too. So,
Okay.
he might be where he wants to be right now. So, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it was a prove it to me job, right?
for
He
sure.
left a Division II school, or I think James
Mhm.
Madison is Division II. I could be wrong on that. But,
Yeah.
then he comes to Indiana, he gets his shot there. And, I mean, if he can turn around a program like Indiana,
Right.
I mean, imagine if, one of these bigger schools did call him and say,
Who
hey,
yeah.
if you can turn around Indiana, what can you do
Right.
here?
Yeah, I
So
see what
that's
you're
going to be the
saying.
challenge. That's going to be
Yeah.
the challenge for him. That's going to be the challenge for Indiana.
Yeah, to keep him.
Is to try to keep him there. It's going
Yeah.
to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Interesting to see. I mean, but the way with Penn State is playing, I mean, heck,
Yeah, I was like, right.
he
Speaking of schools who gonna keep somebody.
yeah, he may be the coach of Penn State next year. Who knows? I mean, 3 losses in a row. I mean, I mean, that's just
This is
unbelievable. I
and
mean,
then against who they play. I mean, the only credible team you can kind of like maybe forget about is when they played Oregon because they lost to Oregon
correct.
in overtime. But even the way they
Yeah,
lost, like, really, dude, come on. But
yeah.
UCLA, who was winless at the time, who
Hmm.
kudos to them, they just beat Michigan State too. So maybe
Right.
things are turning for them, but then you lose to Northwestern. I don't think I know a
Yeah.
single player on Northwestern. No disrespect.
I know I don't. Back-to-back losses to teams when you were favored by 20 plus points going
Points,
into the
yes.
game.
Yes.
I
It's
mean,
not good.
the sky is falling in Happy
Yeah.
Valley right now. I mean, because the season basically is over for those guys.
It's
They have
over.
no shot
Yeah.
of making the playoffs
No.
at this point. I don't care if they went out.
No, it's week 7.
They probably are not going to make the playoffs if they do that.
Right.
But they did, in addition to losing the game, you also lose your starting quarterback.
Your quarterback. Yeah. So
He's
it's
done
really
for the
like,
season. So
I mean, he's
it's
done
just not looking
college
good.
football, not even for the season. He doesn't
Yeah.
have any eligibility
Yeah.
left. He's exceeded the percentage that you can play during the season for his particular sport where he can medically redshirt.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's over for
that
for him this
that's
season.
the biggest unfortunate, series of unfortunate events for this game is now that Drew Aller, he's just out. Period. He's
Right.
done. So,
Right.
hopefully for him and all of his college, starts, if going to the league was an aspiration for him, that he was able to showcase something, because he is probably the last time we saw him suit up for Penn State this year, because
Yeah.
he's not gonna.
And a lot of
Yeah.
those guys came back this year with the hopes of trying to win a national championship. That's why they decided to return to school. But those dreams are over. I mean, let's just
Crushed.
face it. They're not going to the playoffs this year. It's just I know the season is only halfway over. Potentially they could win the rest of their games, but I'm just saying right now it's not going to happen.
The playoff committee
they're
is not going to put in a 3-loss Penn State
I mean, it's
over.
happened. Potentially it could happen if they would have run the table, and
Yeah.
win the Big Ten championship. It's possible, but they're not doing that.
They're not doing that.
They're not doing that. They're not doing. I'm not a fortune teller, but they're not doing that. They're not. They're not.
He
You
said, "I'm
think they're
not
gonna
Raven
go?
Simone, but I
Yeah,
know a little thing or two.
yeah,
They're not doing that."
yeah. They're not doing that. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
That is
I mean, if it
hilarious.
does, I'll eat. I guess I'll have to eat crow or whatever. But that's. I think it's safe. It's a safe bet for me to say that Penn State will not win out the rest of the season. They still
No.
have to play Ohio State, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
November 1st. I
Yeah. Okay.
think I
All right.
actually I think I took that down because they play Iowa next week. They play Ohio State after that, and then that next week they play Indiana.
Okay. All right. Like I said,
Yeah.
they're not winning the rest of
So
their games.
they're
It's
done.
not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. And then it'd be interesting to see. I mean, I know we've talked about, the James Franklin thing before with him having such a huge buyout, but can't keep losing every game.
No.
You can't keep losing every game, man. I mean, it was one thing to lose against the best teams in the country, the ranked teams, but now the last 2 weeks, UCLA and Northwestern.
Yeah.
Yeah, be interesting to hear the radio shows in Happy Valley this weekend because I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure those people are not
You
happy.
kind of got a glimpse of it in the stadium today because it was booing
Yeah,
him and saying fire Franklin. So
yeah.
I think he kind of has an idea of what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be
Yeah.
tough for him, man. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not looking good for him. Not
Yeah.
looking good. It wasn't
Well,
looking good for Texas, this year, and then all of a sudden, they
what are they
go with the
thinking?
Red River Rivalry, and lo and behold, they beat Oklahoma.
That game, biases aside, with Michigan Ohio State, that is my favorite rivalry in college football because it
Yeah,
does not matter what the record is that year. I never know who's gonna win. Because even
right.
starting the game, it was kind of boring. It was heavy defense, but I still
Hmm.
felt like OU was playing better. So I thought, okay, like it was just a slow start for everybody, but OU is kind of going to take off in the second half. No, OU didn't do
And
anything in the second half.
they didn't score a point in the second half.
Not a singular
Did
point. They
not
didn't score.
score
They
a
didn't
point.
score a single point in the second half. They didn't score a single touchdown in the whole game.
Yeah,
Texas took that away the whole time. The whole time. I mean,
total
John Mateer threw
domination.
3 interceptions.
3 picks. Yeah, his first
Like
game back
that's
since injury. And
yeah.
you
I had the little
thought,
thumb thing
you really thought that they had the advantage with him coming back,
for sure.
but he did not play. I don't know if it was because
No.
of, the thumb was still bothering him or what, but give Texas credit. I mean, I'm not going to
Yeah.
just put it all on the injury. I mean, he was well enough to
No.
play. So,
Yeah. And
you
he
got to
was
give
throwing
the
the
other team
ball
credit.
fine. His accuracy was just off where he was
Yeah.
throwing it to because
Yeah.
the balls were perfectly thrown. So to say that it was
Yeah.
his thumb, I really can't
Can't
get
blame it
behind
on
that
that.
100%. Yeah.
No,
I
can't blame
mean,
it on that. Give Texas credit.
yeah.
They won the game.
Yeah.
Defense
I mean,
played
their
well.
offense played well. I mean, yeah, their defense obviously, but their offense played well. They had no interceptions, no fumbles in the games. And
Mhm.
then the defense, they kept them in the game like you talked about complimentary football because the first half was slow. The defense kept them in the games to the second half when the offense can kind of get going, and Texas just took it from there. They were in control
Yeah.
pretty much the whole time.
They
I mean,
controlled it.
Arch Manning, he didn't throw an interception at all. They didn't beat themselves with the advantage that they were given, as you always say. So
Right. Yeah, he was
yeah,
efficient. I mean, 21,
yeah,
I think it was 21 out of 27. He only had
mm-hmm,
166 yards, but, he was
mm-hmm,
efficient. He took care of the ball, no turnovers.
yep, yep,
Defense, again, the defense played outstanding,
yeah,
and they came away with a huge victory. They could not afford to lose that game.
no,
So it basically kept their season alive because if they
for
lose that
sure,
game, they're in
mm-hmm,
the same boat as Penn State. The season is
yeah,
probably over. But, Oklahoma was ranked number 6 this week, I think, maybe 6
yeah.
or
They ranked
7.
number 6.
I know they're in the top 10, so they kept their season alive. So really,
Yeah,
really big win for Texas.
yeah, yeah. Anything else you got from this week?
Alabama, big road win for
Oh
them
yeah,
against Missouri.
yeah, yeah.
Caleb
They sealed
DeBoer
the game
keeps
with that
building.
interception
Yeah,
at
he
the
keeps
end.
building
Yeah,
his resume at Alabama.
yeah,
It's starting to look better and better for him. I mean, Ty Simpson
mm-hmm,
played well. Just a really good victory on the road
mm-hmm,
against a good Missouri team. So
yeah.
I watched that. That
Mm-hmm.
stuck out. That
Mhm.
stuck out. It
I
was a
mean, if you think
good
about
win.
it, I mean, the SEC is pretty, I want to say pretty competitive this year, but I feel like they're always like very top heavy. I mean,
Always. Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like they have a lot of ranked teams in the SEC, whether it's like number 11, number 16, number something. So I feel like teams
Always.
like Mizzou and Vanderbilt and whoever else are never really ranked. It's mostly just like obviously Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, and nobody else you're kind
Mhm.
of really worried about. But I feel like this year they have a lot of ranked teams. Now, obviously, you add Texas, who's not ranked, but who was. You add OU into the mix. I mean, the SEC is like really, really strong, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, because going back to OU, I mean, after they play South Carolina, they have Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Alabama back to back.
Yeah, it's a
weeks.
tough schedule.
And then they play Missouri and LSU. So there's a lot of good teams right now going on in the SEC. So, give Kalen DeBoer some credit. I mean, like you said, I know they're not blowing out teams the way they used to, but y'all are winning. So take
They're winning
what you
games.
can. They're winning games. That's what you wanted. They're winning games.
Yeah. He's keeping the train on the track. The program is not falling off, since they lost Nick Saban, and that's huge. That's a
For
credit to
sure.
him.
For sure.
And his ability to go out and recruit and, get these guys to come to the program still and keep the program going. So big ups to him for that. But, you talked about some of those other teams, but, Ole Miss is good. I think Ole Miss is ranked in the top 10 this year.
They're number 4.
Yeah, number 4. Okay. Then Texas A&M is also ranked. I don't know. Is LSU ranked this year?
Yeah, they
LSU.
are.
So, yeah, I mean,
I want to say they're 11,
teams.
but I could be wrong. But I want to say they're 11. But
a lot of good teams in the SEC. A lot of good teams.
Yeah,
a lot of good teams. So it's every week, they're beating up on each other. And that's why, you have so many of those teams that traditionally make it into the playoffs because they take into account that they beat up on each other, because the conference is so strong, you basically don't have, you don't have too many off weeks, if you will, when you're playing in the SEC because everybody is good. Everybody is good. So,
the deep
good
Southern boys. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not even to mention teams who used to be good, like Florida. Florida used to be a powerhouse in the SEC, and now, they're struggling a little bit. But, they're still a tough team to play. I mean, look, they beat Texas last week. So, still a formidable opponent when you go and play Florida down in the swamp, especially. So, SEC has always been tough, probably always will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Georgia's finishing up with Auburn right now. I think Georgia's going to seal it. Auburn held Georgia to no points in the first half, but now Georgia's up 20-10 with 1 minute and 53 left to go. So,
they were down 10-0 in that game at one point, and they've come back and scored 20 straight against Auburn. So, how about them dogs? They'll count out them dogs.
Yes. All right. Well, that's all I have for our little recap this week. If you have anything else.
No.
Awesome.
Not really. Those were the games that I paid close attention to.
Close attention, yeah. Well, we'll tap back in on Tuesday with the NFL big game Sunday night for us.
Detroit.
I'm scared.
Kansas City. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Especially with the entire secondary being hurt.
I'm going to say the injury report, but we won't get into that. We'll save that for the next episode.
It's going to be a challenge. They'll be ready to go, but it's going to be a challenge.
There we go.
We'll talk about it on Tuesday.
Yes. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our pretty quick recap of week 7 of college football. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Of course, if you haven't already, please go ahead and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. That way you get updated whenever we upload an episode, and it also helps us out as well. All right. We will catch you guys in the next one.
All right. Now y'all stay here till we get back.